Girl, you walk like you on crack. I always just all we heard.
Welcome back to the ANTM Experience. Last time we did a bit of an analysis and discussion on Cycle 1 of America's Next Top Model, where we began to unravel a theme, a motif even, about the process of the show. And today we're going to continue this examination with Cycle 2. For the most part, the feel of Cycle 2 is pretty similar to that of Cycle 1, but they make the decision to cut the audition and casting process, which is a good decision, I think, because that episode in Cycle 1 was, in my opinion, pretty much just wasted time. The only girls getting any attention in that episode are the ones who are obviously going to make it. So you can always tell who's gonna make the cut. So I just don't see the point of it. I also get the feeling that the success of Cycle 1 led to the production getting a higher budget. And you can see this in the panel room in particular. Last time I was talking about how cramped it was in there and you could never get a shot of everyone together, but this time they're able to at least do that. And the editing all around is a lot more tight and professional looking. So good for them. They stepped it up. Okay, so let's get around to who's who in the zoo this time around. There's Anna. She's a Southern belle and most notably a mother, which I suppose leads her to take on a sort of a motherly role in the house with the other girls. There's also Bethany, and I want to stress right now that I'm not trying to be crude or objectifying here, but the main topic of discussion regarding Bethany is the size of her breasts. Now, this is pretty much the only criticism she gets with her pictures. It's all that Tyra, the judges, the other girls, even Bethany herself bring up. So that's all that really comes to mind. Once again, I'm trying to be respectful here, but yeah, that's what I have to work with. Okay, so Sarah's story arc revolves around the disapproval that she's getting from her Muslim father regarding her decision to model, which unfortunately proves to be a hindrance to her performance, which is unfortunate because she's a great model, but it sucks to see something like that bring her down. We've also got Heather, and she strikes me as a girl who was popular in high school and is just now dealing with the reality that no one really cares about who you are. There's a bit where some of the girls aren't really talking to her or really humoring her whenever she tries to engage in conversation, which nearly brings her over the edge. It's kind of sad to watch. So next we've got Shomara, and she's an odd one because in the confessionals and just footage of her around the house, she seems like a completely normal person, but on like the runway, at panel, during her photo shoot, she seems as though she's been possessed by an evil spirit. And it's my headcanon that this spirit and her normal self are vying for control of her mortal vessel, which leads to the strange dichotomy within the panel and house Shomara. So Joanna is a girl who really knows her stuff about the industry. She's well versed in fashion. She knows all the designers, the photographers. She's really good at styling herself. She's got it all. They also make it a point to tell us that she did a lot to get on the show, particularly by losing around 50 pounds. In short, she's knowledgeable and has demonstrated that she's willing to put in maximum effort in order to put on a good performance here. And poor Katie, she's just in the trenches the entire time she's on the show. There's one episode where on 6 different occasions she's just sobbing. And like Heather, she's one of the youngest girls there, having only just finished high school. Next, we've got Janasia, and Janasia is a really tough girl. She stands up for herself. She takes it on the chin whenever someone comes at her. She is the shortest one of the bunch, and unfortunately, this is quite literally the only thing she gets criticized on, despite being in the same group as, I'm going to be honest, some really whack models. Now, April quickly became one of my favorites. She's objectively the best model out of the bunch, for starters. She's incredibly disciplined in her method of practicing and honing her modeling technique. And she also never really takes the chance to stand out as an annoying person, so she's up there in terms of my rankings. Okay, so every cycle has someone that is meant to be hated on the terms of the show. And Cycle 2's person to be hated is Camille. She comes off as cocky and overconfident, which, as we know, is a slow and insidious killer. And this bites her in the ass a few times. Her modeling is, honestly, in my opinion, kind of mid. So couple that with her abrasive personality, and she honestly just became one of my least favorites. Now, Mercedes is really fun. She's spunky, she has a good attitude despite horrifically suffering from lupus, and she models extraordinarily. She doesn't stand out too much earlier on, but this is more of the show's fault as it waits for the opportune time for her to drop her like tragic backstory before giving her a crumb of spotlight. And finally, we have Shandy, who I feel like, given a lot of what was said about her by Tyra and the judges, was brought on because she seemed like a fun project that could also serve as the cycle's inspiration piece. I mean, don't get me wrong, she models pretty well, but the way she's talked about by everyone, like the judges, Tyra, and the other girls, it makes it pretty clear that she's the underdog, and I honestly don't think she deserved that. All right, moving on into the challenges. For the most part, like Cycle 1, they're decently grounded in reality, but unlike Cycle 1's one outlier, this one has a couple that seem a bit contrived. There's the obvious runway walks, the go-sees, which are all fine and good, but then you've got things like give yourself a smoky eye around a crowded vanity in under 15 minutes. Dress yourself in a way that exudes your personality, or here's 200 euros. Go into this flea market and find an outfit that embodies Italian sensuality. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Also, the prizes this time around for winning the challenges are far less varied than in Cycle 1. There's a networking event. They have dinner with the RZA and Old Dirty Bastard, rest in peace. But a good majority of them are just, here's a shopping spree. As for the photo shoots this time around, there were a lot of like really cool and artsy shots in this cycle. The first one they did was this Garden of Eden set where the girls put on body paint and were styled really flamboyantly, which Anna refused to do because, you know, they were shooting nude and she only wanted her husband to see her nude body, which got her booted, unfortunately. And then there was this one where they were suspended over like a 200-foot drop, and the standouts here for me were April and Shandy. Just look at their styling, incredible, right? On this shot, however, Katie happened to have been deathly afraid of heights, so she was fighting for her life in there. And then towards the end, they do this. They do another nude photo shoot, but this time in pairs with Joanna and Shandy and Mercedes and April, where which produce some of the most gorgeous shots of the cycle, I think. Photo shoots weren't the only thing they did, however. They did film a sort of Matrix-esque commercial where they're like fighting over a bag of chips and also advertising Top Model itself. And then later on, they star as background dancers in Tyra's debut music video, because of course. But overall, in terms of like style, I think Cycle 2's photo shoots and various weekly challenges and stuff were greatly elevated over that of Cycle 1's. All right, but now it's time to talk about some of the disappointments that Cycle 2 brought us. The first of which is how they handled Genasia. As I stated before, quite literally the only thing she was ever criticized on was being 5'7". Like, she modeled really well for every shoot she was a part of, but was eliminated for something that was just completely out of her control. Like, she didn't have a bad picture or anything, she was just 5'7", like I said. And then we have April, who, as I also said before, was objectively the best model this time around. But the critique she got was that she was too clinical, too mechanical in her method of posing and delivering good shots, which, you know, turned off the judges for some reason. Even though they were just judging her pictures, which looked good, by the way. It's like, never mind that you've given us some of the best poses, best pictures, you do well on video too. We just don't like how you attain that, so see ya. Something I was getting at in the first video was that being the best model out of the bunch doesn't win you the competition, but rather it's the adherence to this fabled idea of a top model. And April is another arrow in the quiver of examples supporting my point here. Now, this last thing isn't as much of a disappointment as it was just weird to watch, but during the elimination after they did the music video, Tyra goes on this speech about how she's like putting herself out there for the world to see and how it's a very vulnerable place to be, as if she isn't in a room full of girls doing that exact same thing. Like Tyra, come on, read the room. Okay, but I haven't discussed the finale yet. The final two are going to be Joanna and Mercedes, and they do the standard runway walk and portfolio evaluation. As I think I mentioned before, Joanna was middling at best in my opinion with her shots. Like, yeah, she put in the effort to be there, knows a lot of relevant information about the industry, but to me, she was just kind of eh. Mercedes, on the other hand, I thought modeled really well in just about all of the shoots. She has the personality of someone who can be a spokesperson and the face of someone who belongs on magazine covers, right? So with that in mind and the knowledge of the fact that top model is more of an idea rather than something achieved through skill, you should be able to deduce that the winner here is going to be Joanna. But credit to Joanna, she is a phenomenal model. I just think that when put next to the likes of April or Mercedes, she just doesn't stand out as much. However, out of the bunch, she did express the oh so important want to win and demonstrated that through drastic weight loss and studying of various industry information, that this was something that she was committed to. So there you go. Okay, so what did we learn? Nothing is sacred. There never was a competition, and we have let the producers and Tyra Banks play us for fools for far too long. I'll see you for cycle 3. In the meantime, feel free to throw on a like, throw on a comment, subscribe, and sacrifice your firstborn unto me. See you for cycle 3.